Quebec. You're watching the Sports Network, coast to coast.
The opening race of the 1996 Cascar Super Series, and this capacity Delaware Speedway crowd waits to see if the veterans Kerry Mix, Jack Monahan, or Dan Shurtleff can outgun the defending national champion Sean Dupuis. This is the Mopar 200 and the Cascar Super Series for the Castro Cup. Castro, manufacturers of GTX. Brought to you in part by Mopar Performance Parts, your first choice and Chrysler 5-star service. STP helps keep your car in STP shape. GM Goodwrench Service Plus and AC Delco.
Hello everybody, I'm Pat Gonzalez and welcome to the first of our televised Cascar Super Series races. What is Cascar and where can you see these cars and drivers in action? Well, first of all, it's late model stock car racing on some of the best short track ovals and road courses in Canada. The cars have a tubular steel racing chassis with V8 powered race ready engines in look-alike fiberglass bodies of the Dodge Avenger, Pontiac Grand Prix, Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and Ford Thunderbird. And this year we'll have 8 races for you from oval tracks and road courses in Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta. Last year, Sean Dupuis won the Cascar National and Eastern Championship driving a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and Calgary's Wade Lee was the Western champion in a Pontiac Grand Prix. So, Craig Hill, what was the story behind GM's dominance of a year ago?
Well, there's no doubt in anybody's mind that GM had a very good car in the Monte Carlo last year, Pat. They won not only in Winston Cup, but they won in Cascar also. But you also, in fairness to the other manufacturers, Pat, you got to look at the lineup of top-line soldiers that they had in their camp last year. I mean, if it wasn't Sean Dupuis, it was Peter Gibbons or Alex Nagy or Kerry Mix or Duke Sawchuk or Wade Lee. I mean, if one of these guys fell by the wayside, or even 2 or 3 of them, there was always somebody wearing a bow tie ready to take their place at the front of the pack. Ford, on the other hand, showed that they had great speed. Paul Mathers qualified up front in the top 4 at every one of our televised nationals last year. They couldn't carry that momentum through to the checkered flag. Chrysler, for instance, is another whole story. Last year, they introduced the new Avenger to the Cascar fans, and I guess you pretty well have to write off 95 as being a development year. But in my mind, they carried a few rules disadvantages last year that have been rectified for 96. Number 1, they carried a flywheel weight that was 15 pounds heavier than their competition. Now, 15 pounds when it rolls off the tongue doesn't sound like much, but 15 pounds at the flywheel is like 250 pounds off the car. What's going to happen this year is the cars are going to roll off the corners quicker, they're going to pick up their RPMs better, but more important than that, when they get to the other end of the racetrack, they're going to slow down a lot easier because the compression is going to help them. And with the very short track ovals that these Cascar teams and drivers are going to be faced with throughout the 96 season, racing luck can play a big part in who's in the winner's circle, Pat.
Well, Craig, the one word we've heard around the racetrack here today, in fact all weekend, is that of parity, that all of the manufacturers have a car capable of winning, and I think the driver talent is more equally spread over the 3 manufacturers. Well, the first opportunity to test that theory of parity came in time trials earlier. Number 60, Ron Beauchamp in a Dodge Avenger set the early fast lap. However, that was eclipsed by number 7, Sean Dupuis in a Monte Carlo. Then late in the time trials, new Dodge Avenger driver number 97, Rob Neely, went 20.667 seconds to grab the provisional pole, and his time stood up until the last car to take the track. Number 10, Paul Mathers, blistered the Delaware Oval at a pole setting 20.551 seconds, just off the lap record. So the Mopar Fast 4 looks like this.
And a perfect way to start the season, Paul Mathers in the T-Bird with the pole position. Beside him on the front row is Rob Neely. Rob has switched from a Chevy to a Dodge in 96. Inside row 2 is Windsor's Sean Dupuis in a Chevy, and a well-known name in Canadian stock car racing, Ron Beauchamp Jr. completes the Mopar Fast 4.
That's Rob Neely in the Mac Tools Midas Avenger, and here's Chrysler's Roy Westlake with those long-awaited words.
Riders, start your engine.
A big field of cars here today with 36 starters, and it's going to be hot in the cars. 28 degrees temperature outside, but the winds are really gusting, Pat, and the weatherman is calling for the possibility of tornadoes in the area.
Well, Craig, that has not stopped the fans from coming out. Tony Novotny, the president of Cascar, has got to be pleased with the turnout here today as we look at the Chrysler Sebring pace car, and the field starts to roll on pit road. A great turnout of employees of Chrysler Canada on hand here this weekend. As we look at the starting grid for the Mopar 200, Mathers and Neely up front. Earl Ross and Kerry Mix, a couple of veteran drivers back there in row 3. There's Kelly Williams, qualified 10th, one of her best qualifying efforts. DJ Kennington back in the 14th starting position in the Dodge. Look for him to move up. Neil Fair in the Midas Monte Carlo back in 20th starting position. There's Bill Daniels and Don Thompson Jr. in Chevrolets back in the 13th row. Steve Smith, one of the rookie drivers, and Richard Beauchamp in a Ford from Quebec.
That's right, Pat. The Cascar Super Series has attracted several competitors from other forms of racing. The 95 Cascar Rookie of the Year, Robin Buck, in the STP Pontiac, is a road racer. And number 31, Kelly Williams, our lone female racer, along with DJ Kennington, both had a chance to experience the super speedways this year by attending the fast track school in Charlotte.
Well, I think it's helped both drivers in qualifying. Here's Todd Lewis in the pits with an update.
Guys, a few things to watch for once we get started. Paul Mathers is very aggressive. He likes to come in really tight on turn 4. Now, if he leaves an opening, Rob Neely and Ron Beauchamp are going to go for the front right away. On the other hand, Sean Dupuis said he's going to hang back and see what develops.
Well, there's the capacity crowd here at Delaware Speedway saluting to the drivers as they roll here on these laps in preparation for the start of this 200-lap event. There you see Neely, number 97 in the Dodge Avenger. Mathers in that white number 10 Ford. Mathers coming up to speed as they roll off of turn number 10. Our tread cam off of turn 4, and there's Matt Lake with the green flag as the drivers hit the stripe into turn 1. Neely out in front. Oh, Neely goes sideways. There is Mathers. He just gets through on the inside. You're on board now with Junior Regan in the middle of this multi-car spin here right off the start. This will bring out our first yellow, Craig.
Well, here's a Mopar replay from Dan Shirtliff's car, Pat. The car in front of Regan touches Williams. Neely gets sideways, and it's everybody hitting the brakes, trying to avoid the car in front. I think that they went into the corner a little too hot with cold tires.
Well, we may see a situation here where Mathers may have got into the back of Neely just a little bit. They were running very close together, side by side into turn 1. Here is Sean Dupuis in the pits as the crew goes to work tearing off the front fiberglass on that chassis of the car, and this is going to cost them an awful lot of time. The crew try to get him back out there so he does not lose a lap, but I'm not sure if they're able to get him out. There's another car that was damaged in that incident, number 43, Robin Buck in the Pontiac.
Well, he's damaged that new Richard Petty paint job, Pat, but he doesn't look too bad off, and we'll be back with the restart at Delaware right after these messages.
Summertime fun, need refreshment. Yeah! Summertime fun, need refreshment.
Try delicious frozen concentrated iced tea from McCain. Refreshing, thirst-quenching beverage made with the essence of unique tea blends. McCain iced tea. Caffeine-free, no powdery taste. Just a clean, fresh-tasting flavor of McCain iced tea. Caffeine-free, no powdery taste. McCain, great-tasting refreshment down to a T.
An ordinary hamburger and your Banquet Burger Deluxe. Either is good depending on what you want, which brings us to Midas Mufflers. At Midas, they have top-quality Midas mufflers guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Or they have the Economizer at a very reasonable price and guaranteed for 1 full year. The point is, you get some choice in the menu, which is important. I like choice. I have one to make right now. I've made it. It's the way it should be. Midas.
Welcome back to the Mopar 200 and the Cascar Super Series for the Castro Cup. And after that first lap accident, number 7, Sean Dupuis, was put a lap down. The team is still discussing it, Pat.
Craig, the rule is that if the pace car reaches a certain point in turn 1, they close off pit road. And here on our Mopar replay, you can see that Sean was simply too late getting out. and he's really got a lot of work to do this afternoon as he has gone a lap down. The field has formed back up. Ron Beauchamp Jr. on the inside of the racetrack. Mather's number 10 on the outside as once again they'll get the green flag from Matt Lake into turn number 1. The Dodge Avenger of Ron Beauchamp Jr. jumps out in front. There's Mather's just sliding that car off of turn 2 as they work the back straightaway. And now the Midas bumper cam, as you saw the close racing about mid-pack in the field, off of turn number 4. Back to the stripe they'll come. Mather's takes a look on the inside, but Beauchamp will lead this lap as they move down the back chute. Just about half a car length separating Ron Beauchamp Jr., who I believe was one of the surprises of qualifying. He was the fast driver in time trials early until Mathers was able to turn that quick lap right at the end of the session. The two drivers battling for the lead early. In the third place spot is Earl Ross as we go on board now with Dan Shurtleff, the Sony Handicap, putting us right in the thick of this battle just inside the top 10 as he closes in on the 85 car going through on the inside, and he'll make the pass. Dan Shurtleff going around the 85 car of Dave Jacobs as those two drivers battle side by side into turn 1, and Shurtleff will take the position.
Well, Paul Mathers and Shurtleff both have been very smooth all weekend, and there's Mathers going for the front already, Pat.
Nice move by Paul Mathers as he was able to push the Ford through to the front on the inside of Ron Beauchamp Jr. So as they hit the stripe, it is number 10, Paul Mathers in the Ford leading the 60 car of Ron Beauchamp Jr. And then in third is Earl Ross. Oh, big slide there by 0-2 Kerry Mix.
Well, let's have another look at that slide by Mix with our Mopar replay, Pat. You know, Mix has had some trouble this weekend. He's been chasing his car a little bit, and it just seems to be a little bit too loose for him right at this early stages in the race.
Well, here's an unscheduled pit stop for Kelly Williams after that brilliant run in time trials, and she started 10th on the grid. But this is going to put her a number of laps down as she sits on pit road. The leader, Mathers, back to the stripe, and here's a battle a little bit further back involving 17, DJ Kennington, and number 03. That is the veteran Jack Monahan, both in the Dodge Avengers as they battle side by side just behind the 25 car of Jim Lapsovich. Here's Kennington as you go on board with the young teenage driver battling with the veteran Monahan 03. In that Chrysler 5-star service Avenger as they work up across the start-finish line and back into turn 1. For the moment, Monahan will hold on to the spot. Here's 93, Alex Nagy Jr. taking a run at Kennington as they work the back chute. Nagy in the Monte Carlo pulling up alongside of the 17 car of Kennington, and he'll pick up the position. And also moving in there, you saw the 74 of Duke Sawchuk sporting that brand new Wagner Power Max sponsorship on his Grand Prix.
Well, we're on board with DJ Kennington there for a minute. You know, Pat, I'm impressed with the learning curve this young fella's taken this year. He's got to be a much smoother driver, and he's in there mixing it with the experienced guys.
Well, here's another great battle, Craig. The Midas bumper cam giving us this shot of the battle between 97, Rob Neely, and number 18, Pete Van der Weest. Oh, the two drivers contact as they ran into turn number 1. Neely, number 97, sideways. That car is really loose, and that may have been the problem off the start when he spun. He has managed to stay on the lead lap, but running just outside of the top 10. Here's your race leader, Paul Mathers, who's had a car that's been just dialed to this racetrack, and here's the battle for third now as you go on board with number 3, Dan Shurtleff in the Goodrich Chevrolet Monte Carlo, right alongside of 92, Earl Ross in the Ford as they come off of turn 4 back to the stripe. It is Dan Shurtleff on the inside, and he'll take that third place position. Earl Ross runs fourth.
Well, Kerry Mix, as I said earlier, is a little loose at the moment, but he switched to a Thunderbird this year, and he's on a pretty steep learning curve. Here's his impressions.
This car here is totally different than what I'm used to. It's my car from last year is a Chevelle Clip car, different car builder. This year, you know, we've got Junior Hanley, which I'm real happy with. He's never built too many Cascars before, and you know, he's one of the best in Canada, so we're real happy with that. He's been real busy building cars, so he hasn't had much time to spend with us right yet, but hopefully we can get him out and get some good practice in and get this car figured out.
Well, Junior Hanley, not only a great driver, but an outstanding car builder as well, and I think that Kerry Mix will benefit from the fact that he has Junior Hanley working on his program here in 1996. There's a 74 car of Duke Sawchuk into the pits. This will be an unscheduled pit stop. They're looking in the engine compartment, a suspected a small engine fire, but it looks like it has gone out. They may have a bit of a fuel leak or something there, Craig. They button down the hood. They'll get Sawchuk back out, but I believe he will lose a lap as they pitted under the green flag. Your race leader, number 10, Paul Mather's running out in front, just ahead of this battle for second between number 3, Dan Shurtleff, who may be the fastest car on the racetrack as he battles with the 60 of Ron Beauchamp Jr. for that second place position.
Well, there's battles going on all over this racetrack at the moment. Look at this battle for 5th, Pat. Jacobs has got Earl Ross locked on the outside, and it looks like he's fading back, and he's got Jim Lapsevich right on his tail. Jimmy just gets by on the inside, too, so Ross is fading.
Earl Ross sliding up the racetrack a little bit. That'll left the opening for Lapsevich, who slides through into that 6th place position. Jacobs in the 85 car running in 5th. There is Joe Lapsevich, Jim's father, watching as his son battles here for that 5th place position. They come up here on Robin Buck, number 43, side by side for 2nd place as we go on board with Dan Shurtleff. As they run down the back chute here at Delaware Speedway, they'll go around that STP Pontiac on the outside as Ron Beauchamp Jr. comes off of turn 4. There is Shurtleff as you ride on board with the Goodrich Monte Carlo driver back into turn 1. And just up ahead of these two cars that are battling for second, you see the 47 car of Sean Mangin. He has made the switch over to a Dodge Avenger for the 96 series, as now number 60, Ron Beauchamp Jr., trying to get around that 47 car of Sean Mangin as they hit the stripe. It is Shurtleff who will squeeze right in between Mangin and the 60 car of Beauchamp to take over that 2nd place position. And here comes Kerry Mix in that 02 Ford. He'll jump right into the thick of this battle for 2nd place, and he has moved around Beauchamp to take over the 3rd place position. So what a shuffle of the positions there we had with Mangin, number 47, right in the middle of that battle. But number 3, big slide there by Mangin as he just about spins, but it is Shurtleff 2nd, 02, Kerry Mix up to 3rd.
And here are the standings with Mathers leading Shurtleff, Mix, Beauchamp Jr., Jacobs, Lapsevich, Monahan, Turner, Ross, and